Hello, read it here. Today we're going to read a story from our / Am I the Asshole? Now, for our first story. Am I the asshole for telling my son he deserved his GF breaking up with him? So my son had a long-distance GF recently for about 2 years. She was great, a really nice girl, and we all loved her, welcomed her with open arms. She was flying here constantly to visit him, like a week in a month, and he didn't lift a finger to go visit her. I tried talking to him about it several times and told him he should really start looking into flying over to her instead of expecting her to do all the traveling. He said no, and my wife probably had something to do with it, as she constantly told him she was afraid of him flying. I spoke to them both and said this girl is great for him. She was willing to move over to our country too, but said there was one condition, and that was he'd have to fly over to her country too, which is fair enough. He said no, he didn't want to fly or travel anywhere. My son was becoming lazier and lazier, eventually telling his GF and us that he was perfectly fine never traveling anywhere, including holidays, etc. Last week, he told us she's dumped him. I went on her FB page, as we're all still friends. She wrote us an apology letter about how she's upset it didn't work out. But these things happen, so we're on good terms, and looks like she's with a new guy already. Me and my wife have no doubt she was seeing him while still in a relationship with my son. I confessed to them both that I actually agree with her decision, and he should have expected it. He did not treat her properly, and I hope he learns lesson for the next one, because he needs to make more of an effort. I said he deserves it for his lack of effort in the relationship, and for essentially just allowing this girl to spend all her money and time coming here all the time. Wife and son are very upset that I said this. Very, very upset, and my wife says I'm being horrible. Am I the asshole? I stand by what I said. Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. Not the asshole. That's the truth. What age is he? Edit. You say he's 24 in another comment. Definitely not the asshole. If he is this lazy and has no plans to travel, what's his plan for leaving the house? Living with parents is great to save money, but he doesn't seem the type so far to actually get up and get out eventually. Comment 2. Really? Do parents pressure their 15-year-old kid to fly alone to a different country to visit their GFs? That seems absurdly young for something like that. Regardless, I agree with Opie, and he's not the asshole. Comment 3. Wow. I assumed he was like 18 to 19 from the way he was acting. I applaud you for calling out your son. He needs to grow up if he ever wants a real relationship with someone, because relationships take effort. I really hate when people side with their families all the time, as if their family members can do no wrong because blood is thicker than water or whatever. Real love for someone means that sometimes you need to call them out on their bullshit so they can become better people in the long run. And I think that's what you've done with your son. Bubble wrapping and coddling him does nothing for his personal growth. Comment 4. Also, I want to say that it's possible she wasn't seeing someone else while dating him. I was in a very similar situation with a guy who never took our relationship seriously despite over 4 years together. He refused to move forward in our lives together, and while we were long distance for a year, even told me to cancel a trip I had planned to see him because he was too busy. I didn't know how to break up with him, but meeting someone else ended up being kind of what I needed to understand that he wasn't right for me. It probably looked like we were together before I broke up, but we weren't. I had just found someone perfect for me after nearly 5 years of dragging it out with the wrong person. Now, for our second story. Am I the asshole for calling my sister-in-law a racist after she compared my cooking to making Kung Pao chicken? For context, I've been married to my wife for 10 years, and we're a mixed-race couple. I'm Asian, and she's Caucasian. I've gotten along with her family, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, but I always felt like her father-in-law and other sister-in-law, Sarah, never liked me. I'm a professionally trained chef with 15-plus years of experience, and I work at a high-end Chinese restaurant, a spin-off of a popular one in Beijing, in a large U.S. city. My crew and I have won several awards, and I've been explicitly told I'll be the next executive chef. Sarah is also a professionally trained chef and works at a popular upscale French restaurant in the city. She constantly brags about it and, no joke, compares herself out loud to Ramsay and Bourdain. Whenever I'm at my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house and helping out in the kitchen, Sarah is always criticizing everything I do. Whether it's chopping, braising, marinating, etc., she always butts in with comments like, I think you should actually do X like this. I've been patient for my wife and sidestepping those comments, saying things like, thanks, but I think I'll stick to the way I do it. Things came to a head 2 weeks ago when my wife, father-in-law, mother-in-law, and I were in her parents' kitchen prepping dinner for my mother-in-law's birthday. We were running a bit behind, so things were heated, which I kind of liked because it reminded me of work, and that's when Sarah walked in. She took one look at what I was doing, scoffed, and said something like, oh wow, okay, so that's not the right way of doing things. It hit a nerve, and I pretty sternly told her to stop criticizing my cooking, and that I'm also a chef like her. She laughed and said, making Kung Pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count. The kitchen went silent. Father-in-law snorted/chuckled, and my mother-in-law yelled, Sarah, what is wrong with you? I stopped what I was doing, swore at her, and called her a racist piece of shit, apologized to my mother-in-law for not being able to stay, and left for home with my wife. Apparently, this caused a massive fight after we left, with my mother-in-law/brother-in-law/other sister-in-law taking my side, and my father-in-law/Sarah saying it was a joke but kind of true, and that I was being too sensitive. The extended family somehow got wind of this, and now everyone is arguing and taking sides, with my wife even getting texts from some of her cousins apologizing for Sarah's behavior. Despite being on my side, my wife is begging me to apologize so that the fighting will stop, but I refuse to because fuck Sarah and her blatant racism. Am I the asshole? TLDR. I'm a chef working at upscale Chinese resto. My sister-in-law is a chef at upscale French resto. She's critical of my cooking skills and has now called it making Kung Pao chicken at a Chinese restaurant. Family at war, wife begging me to apologize. What do? Edit. My wife has also informed me that now Sarah may be in trouble at work, and she's blaming me for it. Apparently, one of her coworkers heard her rant about what happened and reported it to management. Edit. To clarify, Sarah is blaming me, though my wife is partly blaming me. Edit 2/update. So, it looks like one of my wife's cousins found this post and put it on Sarah's Facebook wall going, this is you, right? Her FB friends are starting to comment with things like, if this is you, Sarah, then I'm disappointed. I think Sarah's still at work. Shit might be hitting the fan soon, and now my wife is pissed too. We'll try to update, but might have to delete post if things go nuclear. Edit 3/update 2. Was considering removing, but I just got a voicemail from my father-in-law that my presence was only being tolerated up until this point and threatened a world of hurt if I didn't delete this post. Officially gonna keep this post up, and if you're still reading this, Doug, I'm very disappointed in you. You're better than this. We'll also continue to update, and thanks again for all your support, folks. Edit 4/update 3. Lots of stuff just went down. My wife got a call from sister-in-law. From wife's paraphrasing, Sarah started screaming/crying at her the moment my wife picked up and said that she just got demoted because of her Asian slur husband. Apparently, some of her coworkers have her on FB and showed the post to management, which combined with her earlier rant, double whammied her back to being a line cook, and now she might get fired. My wife told her to go fuck herself and is now solidly on my side after taking the verbal abuse from Sarah and reading some of the comments here. My wife is still the opposite of happy, though. Wife called mother-in-law and asked her WTF was going on with father-in-law. Mother-in-law was confused, so my wife played back the voicemail I had on my TLDR. I'm a chef working at upscale Chinese resto. My sister-in-law is a chef at upscale French resto. She's critical of my cooking skills and has now called it making Kung Pao chicken at a Chinese restaurant. Family at war, wife begging me to apologize. Edit 5/update 4. I'd like to clarify that I got my wife and mother-in-law's permissions to post this update, out of respect for them and their privacy. Suffice to say, it's been kind of nuts this past week. My wife and I had to turn off social media for a bit because of the shitstorm caused by her cousin putting my last post on Sarah's Facebook page. Some people even tried to call the restaurant I work at to get me fired as retribution, but luckily everyone there is 100% on my side. Or, as my boss put it, fuck, Sarah, fuck those racists, fuck them so goddamn much. I guess it didn't help them that half the calls involved threats, screaming, and more racial slurs. We didn't hear any updates from her family, even though we assumed the shit met fan after mother-in-law found out about father-in-law's threatening voicemail. Still disappointed in you, Doug. But that changed on Sunday night, when mother-in-law suddenly showed up at our door with overnight bags. After he took a moment to help unpack and calm down, she spilled the beans on everything. Father-in-law, aka Doug. Apparently my mother-in-law and father-in-law were already having trouble in their marriage, and it was only made worse with a certain 2016 presidential election. She's a Dem, and he had apparently gone more far-right since then. Seems that a line was crossed with the Kung Pao incident and his voicemail. When he refused to apologize for anything, typical Doug, she asked for a divorce and he went berserk. She didn't feel safe there, so that's when she came over. Other brother-in-law and sister-in-law live out of town. Extended family, aka the Great FB War of 2021. You may have been able to tell already, but the extended family was largely arguing slash fighting slash divided along political lines for a few years now, and my cousin's FB post was likely just the light to set off the powder keg. According to my mother-in-law, the fallout has allegedly already led to some breakups, excommunication of some family members, and even an argument that ended with police involvement. Haven't verified this myself, though. Sarah slash sister-in-law. According to my mother-in-law, Sarah came over to her place on Friday. The writing was on the wall, and she was basically forced to quit. Despite her trying to start from scratch as a line cook, the entire staff turned against her. Nothing was coming back from the dish pit for her, and she was getting the cold shoulder. She's a great chef, I will admit this is true, but they took no chances since it turns out, shit you not, they're partly owned by a Chinese investment company. Found this hard to believe and didn't want to add this detail, but it turned out to be true after some research. Won't say any further for privacy. Word also got around in the local industry, and Sarah is essentially blacklisted from high-end establishments. She's now considering selling her home and moving to find work. As much as I don't like her and found her behavior horrifying, I didn't intend for this to happen, so I've reached out to some buds in other states to see if they had any openings. Whether or not she wants to take it is up to her. And no, she has not apologized for anything either, but I still want to be a decent person to her. It sure as hell doesn't feel like a happy ending. Perhaps bittersweet justice, but that's all I can give you. Thank you all for your support and for reading. Still me right now. Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. Not the asshole. Cooking Asian food doesn't count as cooking is racist, incredibly uncalled for, and shows how much of an entitled know-it-all Sarah is. Glad most people over there are on your side, but yeah, don't apologize when you did nothing wrong. Comment 2. One of the things that really bothered me 2 years ago when I visited Lion was how differently people treated the same ingredients used in Chinese cooking when they were used in French cooking. As a Chinese person, eating uncommon parts of typical animals like chickens and pigs isn't new to me. I eat chicken feet and pig intestines all the time, highly recommend both, by the way, without really thinking much about it. If I ever mention that kind of stuff to non-Asians, though, they'd say that Chinese food is disgusting. I once had a co-worker decline getting a group lunch with us because she knew we were going to Chinatown and she didn't want to eat mystery meat. Years later, I had a different co-worker see me order pork belly, which isn't even that unordinary, and she asked why I was ordering dog food for lunch. Then when I went to Lion, where the food feels more like a home-cooked meal and is nowhere as pretentious as French food is often portrayed to be. So many restaurants there serve foods with uncommon parts of animals, and all the other tourists seemed amazed by it. I went into a buchin one day, and everyone there was ordering a sausage where the menu clearly stated was filled with nothing but pig intestines, and no one seemed grossed out at all. Even reading stuff online, they describe it like it's okay to eat when it's a European prepping these kinds of food. Comment 3. Well, there are certainly more doable and upscale recipes in both. Having dabbled in both, as I like experimenting with cuisines. But for FS sake, Sarah must leave the my kitchen, so we do it this way shat at work. It's not her kitchen. Opie is equally qualified in fudging hell. She must stop this elitist crap. This is not the live action of Food Wars, which is why I'm not telling you to challenge her to a cooking duel w/impartial judges. Not the asshole. Now, for our third story. Am I the asshole? telling my parents to pay me back my college tuition if they want a relationship. I was raised by parents who believed, religiously and just culturally, in rigid gender roles. Dad should work, mom should stay home with the kids. I'm the only girl and have 3 brothers. Because of their expectation I'd stay home with kids, they never valued my education, educational achievements, or emphasized things beyond domestic skills. I'm the second youngest. By the time I was in high school, my 2 older brothers had gone to the college of their choice, with my parents fully covering tuition, books, an off-campus apartment, and other living expenses. They eventually did the same for my younger brother. I was told I wasn't allowed to apply for college. I did so in secret and got accepted with a partial scholarship. I didn't tell them I was moving out until a week before I left, with essentially nothing but what a few friends gave to me that their parents bought them for college. I took engineering and had to work, take on debt, and struggle. My parents and I have barely spoken for years. I'm married now and expecting our first child, and they asked to meet up. We met at a park, and they said they were sorry if they caused me pain, but would like a relationship now. I asked them specifically what they were sorry for. They wouldn't elaborate and just said they wanted to move forward. I said that wasn't sufficient. In the end, I said they could prove they were sorry by forwarding me the $100,000 my degree and college expenses were, just like they did for my brothers. My mom burst into tears. My dad said I wasn't being serious, and I just left. Since then, I've been getting calls from my brothers telling me I'm being immature and hurtful. I don't think so at all. Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. Not the asshole. Hi from another engineer from a family filled with rage that she has all the talent that the boy was never up to. As far as I can see, your answer to them was perfect. It was very fair, and if they have fixed their appalling bigotry issues, they would be falling all over themselves begging you to take the money. Since they clearly have not fixed their bigotry, you don't want them around your child. Never, ever poison children by allowing bigots in their presence. No exceptions. That includes your bigoted brothers. Comment 2. They just want to be able to have access to their grandkid. I'm also betting they want to try and convince Op to give up on her silly dreams to be a stay-at-home mom, and we're probably expecting to be welcomed with open arms and thanked for giving her the necessary skills needed to be a good mom. Aren't you glad we made you learn all the woman's skills? Now you can properly take care of your baby at home and quit your job like you're supposed to. Comment 3. Reminds me of a comic where they show one person growing in poverty and the other in wealth. Poverty wanted to be a chef when they grew up, and you see their life as they struggle through everything. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I think they moved to the big city only to get rejected from every place they apply at. They end up as a server at a fancy party, and that's where it ends for them. But the wealthy person story shows how his dad told him he had a friend at this office and got him an interview. Guy was nervous and didn't know he would get it, but in the end did, obviously. Then we see how, yes, he works hard, but all of it is really him already having a name out there because of his dad. Lots of older men at parties kissing up to him, pawing off his work to those below them, and such. And at the end, we see him grab a snack from a passing server as he talks about how poor people are only poor because they don't work as hard as we do. And the server he grabbed the snack from was the person we saw grow in poverty. I'm not trying to diminish his struggle. I'm sure he had to go through his own things, but dismissive language like that is harmful and ignorant. Now, for our 4th story. Am I the asshole for sleeping naked on top of the covers to teach my flatmates GF a lesson? So, 21 guy, live with my childhood best friend, 22, also a guy, and have done for 2 years now. Up until last week, things were perfect between us. However, he recently got a new girlfriend, 23 lady, and she honestly seems absolutely great except for one thing. She seemingly has a complete aversion to knocking. She and I have quite a lot in common, and I actually like spending time with her. However, it bugs the hell out of me when she just barges into my room without knocking first. Now, she's never walked in on me doing anything untoward. I'm usually just chilling on my bed or studying at my desk. However, on at least 7 separate occasions now, she's done it first thing in the morning to ask if I want coffee. I sleep naked. Every time prior to the last one, I've been under the covers and she hasn't seen anything. I always point out that she could have, and she just giggles and says, but I didn't. When she stayed over last week, in order to make my point, I intentionally slept on top of the covers. Sure enough, she barges in at 7 a.m., begins to ask if I want coffee, and sees my you-know-what. She immediately backed out of the room and didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. My mate later pulled me aside and said I was bang out of order, accused me of deliberately exposing myself, and pointed out that I'd threatened to do it before. I literally just said, okay, but what if I had no covers and you saw everything before? They're now framing this to others that I'm some sick creep who intentionally got naked and lay in wait of her because that's how I get my rocks off. And I'm kind of seeing how it came off that way. Am I the asshole for doing this? Let's hear from the comment section. Comment 1. Not the asshole. She knew it was a risk when she barged in. How is she not the pervert? Also, have you considered getting a lock? Comment 2. It seems like she's the creep, constantly barging into your room knowing you sleep naked. Start telling people you're creeped out that she seemed intent on catching you naked. See how she likes it. Keep in mind I'm a total asshole though. Comment 3. The walking in without knocking would appear more creepy/invasive to some if genders were reversed. But if the naked roommate was a woman, I could absolutely see her getting smeared for it. Not like Opie is as a creepy perv, but as an attention-hungry whore? Hell yes. Different forms of defamation, if that's the right word. But yes, in both situations, I can see the victim whose privacy is being invaded being blamed. Comment 4. This. She's doing it on purpose. I honestly think she wanted to see him naked or something. I think Op's roommate's GF has a thing for Op personally. She was being intrusive AF. It's called respecting others' boundaries, especially considering Op has talked about it to his roommate and GF before. I really hope other people understand she was invading Op's personal space and she's the creep. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more.